Good morning. Here is the Read Aloud Mr. George Baker by Amy Hest. As I read today, please think about what do you notice about Mr. Baker? What are you wondering about Mr. Baker? What questions do you have about Mr. Baker? Can you make any connections to Mr. Baker? See this man, this one here sitting on a porch? That's Mr. George Baker, and he is 100 years old. No kidding. Hurry up, Harry, Mr. Harry in charge. That's George, all snappy and happy in the morning. He always calls hurry up, Harry, when I'm crossing lawns, his and mine, and he's always there first, waiting on the porch. See his pants all baggy, baggy, baggy? What holds them up? Suspenders. Brown baggy pants with 2 side pockets and 2 in back. There's candy in those pockets, little chocolate candies in twisty silver wrappers. George pops one in his mouth, and I do too. We wait on the porch and chew. I like his crumpled hat and his long stretchy legs. His shoes are crumpled too, with long shoelaces. Mine always come undone in the morning. Let's have a look, says George, making 2 double knots that never come undone. Not ever. See this man? This one here, zipping up his book bag? His book bag is red like mine, and there's a book inside. But George can't read. 100 years old, and he never learned how. That must be corrected, says George. So what are you noticing about George right now? What are you wondering? What questions do you have? And can you make any kind of connections to a man like George? I really like his sweater, all hangy with 3 buttons. It's chilly in the morning, and we both hug our knees and wait. We wait watching leaves blow off trees. They fly for a while, they float. They tumble for a while, they swoop. Now the screen door creaks, and you know who teeters out? Mrs. Baker, and some people say she's 90. Well, here you are, Harry, looking after my George. Mrs. Baker puts a sack on the step beside George, and there's lunch in the sack for later. For the man I love, says Mrs. Baker. Again, making connections. What are you wondering? What questions do you have? What do you notice? Why, Mrs. B, you flatter me. George gets up all crookedy and slow, and the next thing you know, they're dancing. Then Mrs. Baker gives a wave and a wink. Goodbye, she says. Be good, she says, and goes back in the house with purple shutters. Do you have grandparents like that? George Baker and me, George Baker and I, we sit on the step and wait. Side by side, we wait. I'm wondering, what are you wondering? See these crookedy fingers going tappity on his knees? They fly across his knees. Tippity boom, tippity boom, tippity boom, boom tap. George Baker is a drummer man, and some people say he's famous. Sometimes he drums on his porch at night, and the neighbors come by. Up the road and down the road, they come to hear my drummer man. Ooh, now I've got some questions. Maybe you do too. Shh, listen. George gets up real slow. I take his hand and he takes mine, and we shuffle down the walk to the big school bus. Morning, says the driver. We've been waiting, answers George. There are 22 kids on the bus, plus 4 grown-ups on the bus. They all want George. Over here, they cry. Sit here, they say. But George sits with me each and every day. George getting on the bus? I've got questions. I'm wondering. Make a prediction. See this man, this one in room 7? That's Mr. George Baker, and he's 100 years old, no kidding. He is learning to read with the grown-ups in room 7, and my room is right down the hall. I'm learning too, and it's hard. Maybe you can make a connection. Maybe learning is hard for you too. We can do it, says George after school. Our books are green and his lips sound out the letters, real slow, but his fingers fly across his knees like a big old drum. Tippity boom, tippity boom, tippity boom, boom, tap. So several times during that read aloud, I stopped and asked questions. I was wondering, I was noticing, I'm predicting. Whenever I stop, I could write down, and because of sake of time, I didn't do it, but I could take my sticky note and I could jot it and stick it in my book. If you don't have sticky notes, please use your notebook, your red one for reading, if you have one. And if you don't, find something and you can also do it on a Google Doc. Okay, that's the read aloud for today. Bye.